All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Chris Malik. I am the co-founder of Practice Space. I'm very excited to present today's webinar on using the Practice Space store. And we have 4 amazing teachers here, and Luann, our creative education specialist, will be moderating this. And before we get started, I just hope that everyone had a chance to check out our new chat feature. We're very excited about it. We've gotten a lot of great feedback, and we've worked really hard to get out to everyone. And thank you for all of those who suggested it. It was a great idea. We're very, very happy with it. So with that, I will pass this over to Luann, and she will go ahead and
welcome, everybody. As we're getting started here, I'd love for you to put in the chat where you're from and whether or not you've used the Practice Space store yet. Many of you are like me, new to Practice Space, and we know that there have been just a lot of questions about the store. So we're hoping not only to answer the how-tos, but also to show you some creative ways to use the store to motivate your students. Chris is going to be watching the comments for us so we can answer the questions that you have in the end. About a month ago, we started looking for teachers who had creative ideas, and several teachers rose to the top. So allow me to introduce our lovely panel of musicians. So Sophie, give us a wave.
Hi there.
She has been she first studied classical piano and singing, and then she majored in piano and singing in jazz and pop at the University of Montreal. A professional musician for well over 30 years now, Sophie has traveled to more than one continent to acquire a solid professional experience. She settled in Las Vegas in 1992, and I love this, to participate first as a musician and then as an assistant producer in the creation of Cirque du Soleil's first indoor show, Mystère, which means mystery in French. Sophie later joined a small musical production team called Ben and Max Inc. They've composed and produced musical scores for films as well as radio and TV ads. Today, she's head of the prestigious College Jean de Brébeuf Music School in Montreal, and I had to practice saying that, and has also created the Coachy Notes, a music school for children. She is a published author. Welcome, Sophie. You have set a very high bar to achieve.
No, really, I'm just old. That's all. I've done lots of stuff.
Yes, that's awesome. So next we have Jennifer Foxx. She's rather well known to many piano teachers. She has over 35 years of experience. She runs a successful piano studio in Arizona. She, in addition to teaching, is nationally recognized from her website, musiceducatorresources.com. She blogs, she shares music teacher tips, and creates innovative music resources used by teachers and students around the world. Whether teaching piano, developing new resources, writing, or presenting, Jennifer is very passionate about music education and dedicated to helping students and teachers achieve their full potential. Jennifer, my longtime friend, we are so glad that you are here.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
And then we have Kay Lowry, our third teacher, is a piano teacher dedicated to helping people learn and to love music. For over 40 years, Kay has been teaching children through her studio, classroom, or choir. Am I having feedback? You can all hear that? Let me check one thing here because I want y'all to be able to hear what I'm saying about her. Okay.
I think it got better.
Did it get better? Okay.
Yeah.
Let me come back. All right. maybe I just needed to catch up with myself. I'm beside myself. So Kay hopes to help parents and kids and teachers have joy and fun as they continue in the journey of music making. And when she's not teaching or creating, Kay is busy with her 2 grandsons, her miniature dachshund, and keeping up with her energetic husband of 42 years. That sounds fun, Kay. Hi there. And then lastly, I am Luann Knight, the Creative Education Specialist for Practice Space. I've had the privilege of working on practice apps for almost 10 years now. I started with Practicia for 4 years. We never got it out of the beta testing stage. And then for Tanara for 5, and they closed their doors in November. But now I'm super excited to work for Practice Space. I teach piano north of Atlanta here in my studio, and I love helping teachers be the most creative that they can be. So we're going to now start with Sophie, who will share some of the store basics. She's going to share her screen and discuss how to add something to the inventory and the store.
Thank you, Luann.
You're welcome.
First of all, I have to say I am French speaking, so my English, although I do speak it, I've spoken in English for years. Sometimes I'm going to be looking for words. It's obvious because I live in French, so my English is kind of rusty. So let's go. I am going to share with you my screen of my iPad. And here I have several things that are open. The Teachers app, the Practice app, and this is a wheel that I use for games. And it's going to become evident why I'm using this. I'm going to go into the Teacher app first. And I'm just going to show you where and how to load up a special gift. We call them shop items into a specific area of the app that the student uses. Of course, when a student practices, he gets gem. Gem are kind of like money. And with the gems, they can buy things in the shop. There are several items that are provided by Practice Space, like avatars and backgrounds. But there's a section of that shop that a teacher can put some specific things that they want to give their students. Now, a lot of the teachers do teach in person, so they can give these items directly to the student. But I have to mention that for me, I only teach remote. So I had to construct my shop items in accordance to that reality so that it doesn't cost me an arm and a leg to send those shop items to the students. So a lot of my stuff is, I can send it through, now I can send it through chat, which is great. But I have a few items that I do put in the mail for the students. So to add something to a shop, it all happens in those 3 tabs. We have the inventory first. This is where you're going to load up an image and a description and a title. And you're also going to decide how many can a student buy. Like if you want to minimize the amount of that item, you can decide if they can only buy 1 or 4. I'll show it to you later. Once you've uploaded the items that you want to put in your shop, you can go into the store and then add it into the in-studio rewards section. That's where you can load up your inventory. And lastly, the third is when a student actually purchases one of the items, you get a notification, and then you have a section where all the unredeemed rewards are. Once you've given out the item, you can hit that redeem button, and they switch to the redeem section so that you can keep track of who's getting what. So I am just going to show it to you. It really takes 30 seconds. Now, keep in mind, all my stuff is in French, but I did prepare something in English so that you guys can see it. So I'm going to add an item. I always like to select the image first so that I know what I'm adding. So I went for the magic wheel. Then you can write the items. And then you can go into the tags and select shop item. That's what I do, but I'm not going to do it now because it's too long. And then I'm going to go, okay. in the name, I am going to name it Magic Wheel. Oops. And in the description, this is an important part because the title and the icon does help the student to know what they're buying, but the details is important. You can mention different things. It can be, for me, and for instance, I have several magic wheels, so I could be detailing this is for a complete lesson decided by the grand magic wheel. And since I don't complete, I'm missing an E. So this is something, for instance, that I would not allow a student to have more than 1 or 2 a year, obviously, because I do want to teach piano. So I'm going to keep it at 1, just 1. Then I save it. And obviously, it should be listed somewhere here. There you go. You have the magic wheel that's right there. So now that's in my inventory, I can go to the store and I hit the In Studio Rewards section. And then I add, and you're going to see the magic wheel appear. Now, if nothing appeared, that means every item in my inventory is in my Studio Rewards shop section. But now I just added this one, so I can select it. Now, the cost currency is the amount of gem the student is going to have to spend to get 1 full lesson of Magic Wheel. So, and there's a lot of discussion about how much you should charge for something. But for me, what happened is that I used Practice Space for a full year, and I could have statistics on maybe my students that are between 4 and 8, or my students are between 10 and 13. So I kind of knew ahead of time, just generally the amount of gem they could accumulate in a year. So I took those stats to give me a kind of an idea of what I want things to cost. And for instance, a magic wheel, I'm pretty much sure it would be somewhere around, oops, I lost my keyboard. So it would be probably somewhere around 250 gems. So that would be not too expensive, but they're still spending money. So that obviously they can't, they're having less money, less gems in their money bank on Practice Space or gem bank. So that's how you add it. And then I'm going to show it to you. It's going to show up on the Practice Space for the student. So you go on the top menu. The last item on the menu is a shop. And then you have the avatars, the background, the power-ups. And then there's the other section, which is the section that you can add things. And then I have all my them, and Magic Wheel should be there. And there it is. Magic Wheel just showed up. So when a student has enough gem, it does show in red. You know, when it's grayed out, that means they don't have enough to purchase it. And at first, I had only the big items. You know, I have big items. They're like surprise bags in which I put, because I used to own like several music schools. So I have a bunch of method books, instrument. I have so much stuff. And I'm at the point where I want to let go of a lot of them. So those big bags, I put several things in them. They're a big item, but they're expensive. And that's what I started with that. But then I noticed that some of my students were eager to purchase. They didn't want to wait till there were 2,000 or 2,500 gems. So I created a lot of different ones. And I added those that were less expensive, like games. This one is Choisis mon costume. That means they can choose that if I teach with a filter, you know, like Zoom has little bunny filters, or you can be an elephant or something. So they can decide and purchase so that I teach the whole lesson wearing a filter. Or I have this one that I really like, which is choose my wallpaper. And what I do with this is I do a lot of stuff. If they purchase this, I select 4 backgrounds. It can be related to anything that's educational, not just music. It could be art, it could be dance, it could be a city, it could be historical. But I choose 4 images relating to that subject, and I send it to the student. They pick one, and it allows me to address one kind of educational, artistic educational item with them. If it's an author or a composer, then I can have them listen to some sections. If it's a great writer, I'm going to read some parts of that writing. So I do tend to try to do music education at first, but sometimes if I have an occasion to do just art education, I will do it. And that wallpaper, it really works really well, and the students love them. And finally, I added all the games, because I have many games since I teach remote. I have a section here with many, many different games that I use. And I've separated them in folders so they can purchase to choose one of those games in one of those folders, and they can do 10 minutes of them in the lesson. And the other ones are more obvious, like switcheroo is that the student becomes the teacher. And I have qui suis-je, which is when they want a 15 minutes of an introduction to a famous musician, a composer. So that's pretty much, and there are some books too. And that's it. That's pretty much it. So I'm done.
That was wonderful. Thank you so much. I love that you have a lot of, I mean, based on the fact that you're teaching remotely, your motivational items are mostly intrinsic motivation. I love this saying that John Tesh once said, give your children experiences rather than buying them things.
Yeah.
So I want to take a minute or two now to just talk about student motivation. You all probably remember learning about the motivation types in a psychology class, or maybe just in your reading along the way as a teacher. And I realized that we could have different viewpoints on this, but it is worth a quick visit. So I'm going to share my screen and show you just a graphic that can help you to understand kind of where I'm coming from. So do you see that? The difference between intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. And I'm not seeing any of you or me anymore, so I want to make sure that I'm still, let me come back to the link. Oops, sorry. What has it done? It has gone into help. I'm in a loop. Oh, goodness. If I come back to this, I can't tell if you're seeing it or not.
We can see it. You just click off the tab. You can make it full screen. We saw it.
Okay.
Nice here.
Okay, good. Good. Okay, so it's full screen for me, so I'm not sure how to change that for you, but I can put this in the in our practice space Facebook page so that you can all see it a little closer. So the difference between intrinsic motivation and extrinsic motivation would be, we've got this little girl painting this beautiful painting. She loves to paint. She's asking her mom all the time, oh, please, can I get out the paints? She's driven by the internal factors of the joy that she gets out of doing the act of painting. It can be long lasting because this is something self-sustaining, something she's taking ownership of. And it can also produce higher levels of creativity, innovation, and that personal growth. However, on the other hand, we have the extrinsic motivation, which we are all motivated by also. This could be either winning a prize, our own salary. I enjoy getting paid for teaching the lessons, grades, or a diploma in school. Different scientists have studied these, though, and decided that, that these are more for a very short-term motivation and are usually associated with routine and repetitive behaviors. So in order to get our students to practice that repetitive behavior, we want to make sure that we're still driving them with these internal factors. I've found that if I give my student, a Christmas pencil, it is possible that it's still in their bag a year later. So let's see. I had one more thing to show. I'm sorry. On this one, I was like, where did my picture go? So I want to show how you can combine the two for the very best experience. So this little gal is now painting a picture of the diplomas. And what it's doing is we're saying that we want to have the extrinsic motivation create intrinsic motivation. And so I have just a very few amount of things in my store that I wanted to show you. So the decal stickers, of course, is the external motivation. I have here a lesson filled with music games. So it's kind of like your Decide Now, Sophie. And I personally would love to see what you have on that wheel. I've never known what to, exactly to put on that game, but I do have it, that app. So I think it'd
I
be.
I actually have the whole list of game that I use. I can send it to you, or I can publish it if you want.
And I think that maybe if we post some of the things underneath this video when it gets posted to our Facebook page, I think a lot of teachers would love to see what they could also be using. And not everyone will choose all the same things, but it at least will, wet our whistle and get us thinking about what to use. I love this one here, a free piece of sheet music of your choice. This to me is the gift that keeps on giving. And the hard work would earn the student a free piece of sheet music, could be pop piece, a Christian piece, anything that we mutually agree on. And then the last one that I have on mine is Note Rush, is one of my favorite note naming games. Since it costs $9, I would give it to 3 students, and I would put on there that has to be for a different family. You can't, not 3 children all in the same family getting the same game. So again, I'm still working out how many gems to give for these types of things. And I'm sure as I have that years of experience behind me, as Sophie does, then it will help me to figure out then, what's a perfect amount to do it. And I think every studio is going to be different. As my students are learning to see what we're doing in the studio, to see what's available, I think, it could be different for every studio. So, Jennifer, so you have been great at using that extrinsic motivation, and we'd love to see what some of your ideas are, either music activities or prizes that you've used to motivate your students to practice, because that's the whole big thing. It's to keep that loop of practice going.
Yeah, I want to say a little bit more about the motivation thing, because I'm naturally just a goal-oriented person. If you give me a task or a list or a goal, if I'm motivated, I will accomplish it. But if I'm not motivated, it will get, pushed aside. So it has to be something I want to do. So I think that's why it's good to have that balance, because it both are good. There is no, it should be this or it should be that. I think both are really good to have. So I have a good mix of both. So I'll share mine real quick and just kind of highlight what I have in there too. Let's see, I'll go to my student account. Okay. So you could see, I wanted to have some simple things that wouldn't cost very much for students so they can easily earn something, especially if they tend to not practice a lot. So like the music pencil, that should be pretty easy to earn. And then some star glasses. The star glasses came in because I just had a 10 left over, and I'm like, I need to get rid of these. You did, like Sophie said, you find what you have and you use them. And then I had created practice games and I had a set of a bunch of different practice games. And when I hold practice workshops, my students, during the workshops, my students are able to get these, but I only hold the workshops about every a few years. And so they don't always have them. And then stuff. So I wanted to add them to my store. So I have like the ice cream themed practice card game. Some of you might even have, if you own my practice games and tools resource, you have this and can use it. So you just divide these games up. And then the metronome test track practice game. So how this would work is I would print it out. Here's the metronome one, and it comes with a few cards that they can stick on. And I would have the car. I have found a couple little cars that I probably would actually give them a physical car instead of, they could choose this or they can have the physical car. And then I would give them the dice and I would laminate it. So it'd actually be something that would be nice for them to earn, not just a piece of paper I printed out. And so there's that example. And then I have stickers that they can earn, a cootie catcher that they can decorate and earn for their practicing as well. Board game is the practice power game. Silly practice tricks. This is a set of cards that I would print out for them and also laminate to make it nice. And, they could do their little silly practice tricks. Then there's another card game, Stack the Composers. Mini erasers are super popular, just FYI. And then music buttons. I have a button machine, so I could make these easily on my end. But I know there's a bunch of people that also make them and sell them that you can purchase. Treble Clef bookmark. This is another one that years and years ago I had done as Christmas gifts, and I have a ton left over. And so I'm like, why not put them in the store? The other thing, Melody Pups. So I have one student in particular, he loves the Melody Pups. And I give these for birthdays. And they love getting their Melody Pup for birthday. But they also love purchasing Melody Pups. All right. And then some of the other ideas. So gameplay lesson. I know, Luann, you had one of those. So nothing but games. Improv lesson, so nothing but improvisation on that lesson. Just duet lesson, so we just play duets. But also I figured, why not also put backing tracks in that too? So you could do duets and or backing tracks. And then I do a music lab in my studio. So I have a music lab choice day. So on that day, they can choose what they want to do for music lab. I just make sure that they know it's music related activities only. So you have to get ahead of, any issues that might creep up. I also have a spin the wheel lesson, and I've always wanted one of these. So I bought a physical spin. And it's dry eraser. So with this one, it says, find out what we're doing at your lesson by spinning the wheel. There'll be a nice mix of activities, even some fun surprises. So when they choose this one, I want to customize it to that particular student. It could be some things that we're working on, but we might do it in different ways. It can be certain apps that I know would be really good for that student that I'll put on there. And then it might be a little bit, or, a little prize gift or something that's added in that wheel too. But I really want to customize it to a particular student and what I'm going to put on there. And then I have the switcheroo lesson. So switching roles, and then sheet music of your choice. So I'll purchase the sheet music. They just let me know what they want. And then I have a big treasure box full of just random things, so they can choose something out of the big treasure box. So it's a nice mix, I think. Yeah. And I'll stop my screen. There we go.
Absolutely. And to me, that's what's important, because they can run parallel. The extrinsic and the intrinsic motivation, they can cross over. And what we're wanting is for it to keep the student practicing, to make it be something that's meaningful for them And to me, either something that's a music game or a piece of music is, definitely something that's going to keep them practicing. So you have wonderful ideas. I just love hearing all of your ideas, Sophie and Jennifer, so far. So Kay ran a wonderful motivational campaign to save the turtles. And this to me is fabulous, such an altruistic activity. Give us a rundown of the project. How did you think about doing something like this, and how successful was it, or is it? Is it still going on?
Hey, thanks, Luann. So I did not get this idea from myself. I have a teacher friend named Sue Lieberman who had done it in her studio. Now, in years past, when I had an in-person studio, I would just make a chart, put it on the wall, and we would do it that way. But these days, I am 100% online, just like my new friend Sophie. So I had to think of a different way, and practice space was perfect. Most of my online students live in the Houston, Texas area, and it just so happens that the Houston Zoo has an Adopt an Animal program, and there are 25 different animals that you can adopt. You can adopt it as an individual, or they have different levels that you can contribute toward adopting an animal. And on their website, it explains what adopting the animal means. I chose to adopt an animal as a classroom. So you can imagine if I were a public school teacher, I could also do this type of an incentive. But I chose to use my entire studio as a classroom. And I chose the sea turtle. And of course, I talked it up like it was going to be a big deal for a couple of weeks before we started. And how I actually did it, very similar to what you guys have shared in your different presentations. I went to the inventory. This is a little bit of my inventory. I do a thing called composer bucks. I'll get back to that in a minute. But I have some music on here. I have some apps that I have on here. And then I have Save a Sea Turtle. And I have put the image on, and I had added it to my inventory, and then I added it to my store. It's no longer in my store because the incentive we stopped, we did it. For my purposes, to adopt a sea turtle cost $130. I know that seems crazy, but if you add up all of the things that you might give a student, plus the wonderful value of doing something good for the environment, plus the fact of getting them to practice, I felt it was money well spent, but I wanted it to be hard. So I initially set the price at 500 gems, which I quickly learned was too much. But that eventually became a good thing because I put my sea turtle tokens on sale. And I made a big deal of saying, we've gone from 500 gems to 200 gems. Hurry and practice and grab that sea turtle token. I have 25 students who were eligible to participate, and 15 of them participated. It took about 2.5 or 3 months. So it was a long-term thing. I will share my screen again and show you how I kept them updated because I wanted to keep the momentum going. So let's see here. I'm going to go back to practice space and go to, let's just go to the students. And then because practice space has a group feature, I made a Save the Sea Turtle group and I put everybody in it. And then this is just an example of a lesson. On November 27th, I said, we only have 3 more tokens to go. I called it a token when students turned their gems in. Under the assignments tab, I created a attachment with a graphic from Canva. I hope you guys can see that. And it's just, I would share this during a lesson, but I also shared it in practice space. We have raised $105. We need 15 more. And that kind of kept the momentum going. I hope that makes sense so far. Now here comes the fun part. We met our goal. Woohoo! It was so exciting to do that. So I sent off the money to the zoo, and about a week later, I got this cute turtle. So soft. They have a plush for each one. And when I sent off the donation, they asked me how many students I had. I told them 25. I only gave the swag to the ones who participated. So they all get a bracelet, a cute bracelet. So I have some of these left over. Save the Sea Turtles, Houston Zoo. And then there is a certificate, which I filled out and gave to each student who participated. I also got a cute picture of a turtle. And then I got some information, a fact sheet about what the Houston Zoo does when they adopt the turtle, some facts about the turtle, all the things. It was super fun. My students want to do another animal next year. You know, you could do an animal shelter. You could actually, like, if you want to do it and collect dog food or cat food to give to a shelter, anything in your community. I see someone has asked, how much money did I contribute to the purchase price for each student that bought a token? That is very good. I'm glad you asked. So every time a student clicked on that item, it cost them 200 gems. And that meant that I contributed $5. That was just how I did it. So it was a slow process, and it kept them engaged for a while. I think that's about it about the Houston Zoo, but it was really neat. And I'm sure that maybe that you creative teachers can come up with something similar that would be an altruistic item. I happened, even though I teach online, I happened to be in the Houston area over Christmas. So I hand delivered these items to the students while I was there. The ones who did not live locally, I mailed them. It cost me $1.20 or something. And that's how I gave the swag to the students who participated.
That's wonderful. Oh my goodness. That makes me want to go to my Chattanooga Zoo or Atlanta Zoo and see what they have. Let's do it. We should see how many teachers can save turtles and whatnot. That would be fun.
I just wanted to add something else real quick. I had to be real specific because some of the kids are so young, they're very literal, and they didn't really understand. Like one kid said, where's the turtle at your house? And I was like, no, I don't get an actual turtle. And I had to tell them, you're going to go to the zoo and see examples of the sea turtles, and they're going to save them from the ocean. And, you know, I had to explain a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Thank you so much, Kay. We appreciate that. Jennifer, we had, Jenny was asking, she wanted to know more about the practice cootie catcher. Is that one? I was going to say, is that one of these?
Yeah. So these things, and then they open it up. So the practice one tells them what, on this particular one, it tells them what I want or what they should focus on when they're practicing the piece. So they're doing their cootie catcher and they open it up, and then it might say rhythm on it. And so they know that this playthrough, they need to really focus on their rhythm. Yeah, it's just something fun, something different. Yeah.
Jennifer, is that something that's in your store?
Yeah. So it's under the practice games and tools resource that has like 13 games in there. So it's just one of the games that are in there.
Could you, in the comments chat, put a link to your
I'll
store?
check
And
it
if
later because I don't think I have
Sophie,
access
I
right
don't know if
now.
you have a store or
Yeah.
anything that we
Well,
can.
it's musiceducatorresources.com, but I can add it in the chat later. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Well, I have loved this. This has been so eye-opening and so um, just it gets my creative thought processes going too. And so I hope that this is a big help to all the teachers that were wondering, what in the world do we do with this store? So, Chris, do you have any ideas? Anything you'd like to comment on?
Sure. It's Kay. Did you want to share one more quick thing about the composer bucks you mentioned?
Yes, this is an ongoing incentive. I got these from the Three Crazy Women, and they have a store. And so students earn these during my lessons for various things that they do. So in practice space, I have a picture of one of these, and my students are always purchasing this during practice through practice space. So when my students collect 100 composer bucks, they can get a gift card from me. And I regularly have kids that will turn in their gems to get 20 composer bucks toward that goal.
Wonderful. And I see that Tamale has said that this was probably covered before, but is there a place where we could have an ongoing list of store ideas? I think we could probably create a document and
Yeah, we could create a document. I think you asked people's ideas on the Facebook group before, so we could pin that to the top. But I think an ongoing document would be great too. We could get that set up so everyone can contribute their fantastic ideas. I mean, there's so many things here that, I didn't even think about. The sea turtle idea is fantastic. And Sophie, with all your ideas with, you teach only remote, this is important for a lot of teachers nowadays, especially
Well,
after COVID. A lot of teachers have never gone back to in person. So,
I'm
it's not just for
definitely going to steal Kay's idea. That's for sure.
yeah. And Jennifer's come up with so many creative ideas. I love the lesson switch. That is hilarious. It's so cool. It empowers the student and everything too. So
And yeah, the switcheroo when the teacher switches with the student, I
yeah,
absolutely. It's not only that it's fun and that the student is really, really kind of nervous and doesn't know, but it actually gives me so much information on what they actually understand and how they understand it. And that is precious information for a teacher. So switcheroo is my favorite by far because it gives me all the tools to fix the little things that I kind of, just by the way that the student tries to teach me something, I can actually understand what the problem is if they haven't really quite understood it right. So that it's by far my favorite.
yeah.
Yeah. Can I add a couple more ideas?
absolutely.
Well, I was just thinking because Sophie had apps in her thing, and my students do the apps and in their lab time and stuff like that, and I do digital games that I've created too. But you can add that as well, like the digital games. But besides the apps, you can add that into assignments as, actual assignments. But another idea I wanted to mention is that goes along with the practice games is having an actual practice kit. Now, my students automatically get it at the beginning of the year, but that would be a great prize too. So, just like a little practice kit. I started doing this 20 years ago when I read The Practice Revolution from Philip Johnston, which is an awesome book if you have not read that. And anyway, it's just filled with, the other tools that they could use in their practicing, your basic stuff. And I've added, the games and stuff in there. It has a dice in there stuff. But that would be a great prize to add to the store as well, because it's, practicing and then they have their kit. Sophie.
I just have one little things I want to say because I'm pretty present on the Facebook and I see all the new teachers have worries because their students are not logging in and practicing everything. But I've been on Practice Face for quite a while now, and you're going to have students that are going to practice, but they're not going to start a practice, and you can't push it too much. You're going to have to respect that some people will just not use the starter practice, not accumulate gems, and just not play that game with the interface. But and then just focus a little bit, like I will teach traditionally to those students. And the ones that do like it and completely are enthralled by it, well, that's just a plus for me. But you just have to understand that there are some people that just will not get into that gem thing and everything. So, and it's not a bad thing. Practice space is already perfect as it is for just transmitting data, like scores and audio and links and everything. So just that alone, it's a game changer for me. So I just I kept, it really relaxed, and I just assume that there are some that are just not going to get into the gem thing. So
Yeah.
just relax on that.
I'm glad you said that, Sophie, because I think parents too are part of the problem.
That might be. That might just be.
Right. Yeah. So we have to remember that side too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And overall, adults will not get into it. Most of my adults, they like a little bit, but that's what I'm actually trying to do right now. I'm trying to find things that the adults will get excited about getting. And that's a little bit more trickier because games and little pop-ups and stuff just doesn't work with an adult. So, but the practice space app as a tool is just, I can't teach without it. So
I have a nearly blind student that I don't think I would still be teaching her if I didn't have a way for her to, have the audio, just ways to connect with her that she can actually do. So it is wonderful. And one thing I was going to say is for the students who aren't using it, I always do little teasers of, oh, did you see what so-and-so played? And I'll show them, and so we're kind of into it whether they're doing it or not. And during their lesson, and I do have all my students except for one, my great niece is the only online student I have, but everybody else comes into the studio. So I will video them and put it now in that chat and say, this is what so-and-so shared. And it does make them feel really proud of themselves, whether I video it or the mom does. I did have one mom who has 5 children, and I could tell that a baby was on her hip because the whole time the video was going, it was like this. I'm like, oh, I'm going to have to remind her to put the baby down.
there was a question from Jenny. She asked a question when I was talking and I didn't see it go by, but she was asking me if the purchase number per student or per studio, and it is per student. When you do a limit, it's just, you just want to make sure that that item is not going to, like, I don't want a student to purchase 12 lessons of all Magic Wheel, obviously. So that's per student.
Yeah. And we have one more question. First, Jennifer, did you?
Well, I had a question too.
Yeah.
So go ahead with your question and then I'll come.
Yeah. Jenny asked, what do you charge for the switcheroo again?
I charge 500, but I think Sophie was less.
Yeah, me, that's 200, precisely because I get so much out of it. I want it to be cheap. So I want them to purchase it first, even more than the other stuff. So I made it really cheap.
Right. My question had to do with the store, the inventory and stuff. So when you run, how do you keep track of if you run out of something? Is there a way to keep track, or is it you just have to do it on your own?
You'd have to do that on your own right now. There isn't a way to track what's in the inventory, but that someone did bring that up recently, and I think it's a great idea.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there anything else, Luann?
I was going to say, this has just been so much fun. Thank you all for participating. And for those of you who are watching this later, we hope that this gave you wonderful new ideas. I know I'm going to go back and watch it and start writing things down because I couldn't catch it all either, but there's great ideas from these 3 teachers. Thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you all so much. This is awesome. Have a great day. Enjoy the rest of the week, and happy practicing, everybody.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
inviting
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.